Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. Today we have a really cool Mattel figure to take a look at. This is not a brand new figure. This is actually one that's been out for quite some time, but it's one that I never reviewed. I was able to acquire this figure quite a ways back, but I didn't open it. I didn't review it. I just kind of kept it in package. And it's mostly due to the fact that it was pretty hard to find, and it still is to this day kind of a pain to get a hold of. But this is the second variant of the Mussaurus, and I recently was able to acquire a second one thanks to my good buddy Andres, who sent me this and the bendy biters from Mattel. So now that I have two, I'm completely comfortable with opening one up and reviewing it for you guys. Again, maybe not the most exciting review because it's actually been out for a little while now, but it's a really exciting figure to me, and it's my first chance to have a look at it out of the packaging. As far as the actual box art goes, it's pretty much your standard as far as what the attack packs were at the time that this was released. You can see Blue and Owen here giving us, again, the super awkward look. And then here on the back, we also get a look at what the other figures were at the time of this one's release, which is the Alioramus, Dimorphodon, and Velociraptor, all of which we have reviewed here in the past. So let's pop this open and take a look at it. And here is our brownish version of the Mussaurus, and it's also really nice. Like, I loved the original version, absolutely loved that version, but I honestly think this one might be a little bit nicer. It's tough to tell, but it's got a really cool paint scheme. Like, I love the brownish color, and then the black stripes and stuff running down the body, and then of course the yellow underside really amps up the appeal factor for the figure. The eyes look okay, but I feel like they could have chosen a different color for the eyes. It would have looked a little nicer. But honestly, it is a pretty fun-looking version of the Mussaurus, so let's go ahead and get a closer look at it right now. So being that we have already reviewed the Sculpt, we don't need to take a look at the Sculpt again, just basically what's different on this one compared to the initial version of the Mussaurus. And straight away we can see that this one sports a brownish coloration for the majority of the body, and it also has some nice yellowish tones for the underside. One thing I'm not a big fan of would be the yellow that kind of outlines the lips. I don't like that. I think it looks weird. I would have honestly preferred the whole face be that brown and then maybe this yellowish coloration pick up in the throat and then run down from there. But they did kind of outline the lower part of the mouth there in that yellow. And I mean, it doesn't look so bad over here, but it looks a little worse over here. I'm not too sure why. Definitely would have preferred it, a little bit lower. But you can see the eyes are painted with a yellow, and they do appear to have a black pupil, which is a plus, but I would have preferred some other coloration other than yellow, just due to the fact that we have this yellow right here, and it's a very similar tone of color, almost to the brown that we have, so it doesn't stand out that well. I would have liked a slightly different tone of color for the face right there, but it is what it is. You can also see some of the black running right there along in front of the eye, and then it starts to pick up here around the eye area and just kind of almost splatter all over the place. You can see it just kind of stripes and designs in no specific way. It's just kind of everywhere. I am also noticing that there is a very strong speckling with this version, which I really, really do actually quite like, because I feel like it just helps to give it a little bit more of a realistic look overall. Those stripes continue to run, well, I don't even know if you can call them stripes. They're kind of stripes and kind of splotches at the same time. They continue to run down the course of the neck. The yellow coloration here on the underside is also really quite bright. Looking at here, I actually would have preferred maybe not so bright of a yellow. Looking at it right here in the neck, it almost looks a little unrealistic due to how bright that yellow is. I also don't like that it stops, like it runs down this little seam right here. Oh boy, that neck was really stiff. Like if I put the whole body down right there, it looks nice because it just kind of like connects nicely. But with the head up, like this whole chest area here should have been this yellow as well, because it looks really inconsistent now with that kind of yellow running down that chest joint right there and not so much in the chest itself. So some pretty sloppy paintwork there on the part of Mattel. Again, the yellow does pick up here on the underside, but of course it stops right here, whereas it could have run out onto the tail. It would have looked a little nicer. Since we're down here, there is the Jurassic Facts app code if you would like to add this to your collection. But again, we have more of that black kind of splotching and striping and stuff as we move down the course of the back, and it does run all the way down here into the side, which I do really quite like. And now that we're down here in the legs, you can really see that kind of speckling and stuff that I was talking about. Like, it's super, super abundant on this figure, more so than many other Mattel figures, and I do quite like that as well. I wish they would have painted the nails, but unfortunately they chose not to. Definitely a downside as far as that goes. But instantly we have an upside to the figure, because we can see that that black striping and splotching and stuff actually runs out almost the entire majority of the tail. In fact, there's a very small minority of the tail that does not include that, so it looks really nice as far as the striping out on the tail. And look how nice it looks due to the fact that we have so much of that alternate paint variant. Really amps up the appeal factor of the figure when you run the paint like that out onto the tail. And due to that, I feel like it's a very appealing looking version of the Mussaurus. Again, I'm kind of torn. I don't know if I like the older one better or this one better, but it is definitely a nice addition to the Mattel line and another really cool version of the Mussaurus. As far as articulation goes, we have the articulation in the neck, so we've got the ability to make our Mussaurus look like it's eating or drinking, but it can also go up pretty high. You also have articulation in the legs. Of course, all four legs can articulate quite smoothly, and then a swivel in the tail, which was super stiff right there, but also works quite nicely once you break it in. And of course, being a quadrupedal figure, it stands beautifully on top of everything. For a size, for a length, you were looking at about the 6 3/4 inch range, or around 17 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. And then for a height, when it's got its head up tall like this, you're looking at about the 3 1/4 inch range, or about 8.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, here are our usual review comparison suspects with Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line. And you can see that as far as the Mussaurus goes, it is pretty much exactly in the same size range, in Attack Pack size range, as the Colovosaurus back here, and definitely no unique crazy size difference between this and any others. Pretty much fits right in the exact same size range as all of the previous Attack Packs, and hopefully these figures right here can show you that. So I love the fact that Mattel has released a Mussaurus in general. That's one of quite a few different species that I personally never would have expected them to release, but it was a really cool choice on their part to do so, and I love the fact that we now have two variants of this dinosaur. Maybe we'll get more in the future, who knows, but the two that we have had so far were both really quite nice. This is, of course, the second one, and I do quite like this one as well, but I think at this point I'm more so leaning toward the first one being the superior of the two. But with that being said, this is still a pretty fun version, and I do like the tones of color chosen for the most part. The yellow, I think, is a little too bright. Maybe a little bit of a duller yellow would have looked a little nicer, and also the actual application of that yellow paint could have been a little more realistic, a little smoother, but I can't really say, work on this for the future, because it's not something I've seen consistently from Mattel, would be the sloppiness to the paint of the underside. So I think this one here might just be a one-off as far as that goes. But other than that, I do like the colorations that they've chosen for it. I like the design as far as the stripes and splotchiness of that black and how it plays off of the brown body color. I'm not a huge fan of the eye paint, but the eye paint looks okay, I guess. Nothing crazy. The sculpt is fantastic, really gorgeous as far as the detailing goes. And again, just like I've stated in my first review, it almost reminds me of Baby, Secret of the Lost Legend, the baby Apatosaurus from that film, and I actually went and repainted one of these quite a ways back to resemble that dinosaur. It reminds me of it so much. Also a little bit of kind of like a Littlefoot type of a look to this figure, but really beautiful looking, really nice looking version as far as this one here goes. I have decided that I do like the other one better, but this is still a really cool second version. So if you are interested in picking it up, it's going to be a little bit tough to get a hold of now that this is kind of an older one, but I think maybe you could try eBay or Amazon. It may still be available on there. Not 100% sure, but if you can acquire it, it's a pretty fun version to pick up. So make sure you do just that if you can locate one, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.